Hi, everyone. I'm Carisha Swanson, a kitchen and bath expert and your moderator for today's discussion, Rewriting the Design Playbook, Rules for Designing Spaces You'll Love. Joining me today are Alexandra Naranjo of Alexandra Naranjo Designs, Jim Dove of Jim Dove Designs representing the Gournay, and Seth Stevens, Chief Designer of Luxury Space for Kohler. Thank you all for being here today. Let's jump right into this. In the spirit of our panel theme, what is one major design rule you'd love to see rewritten? And what is the one design rule you live by? Alexandra, I'm going to start with you.
So one rule that I would like to see rewritten, they're talking about one space, one wallpaper, and we just finished Kips Bay. We decided to do a bathroom, or we didn't decide, we got assigned a bathroom, and we did 3 different wallpapers in one room. Started with a beautiful tub from Kohler. It's brand new. It's an indigo tub, and that's what inspired me to create this magical space. We have, like I said, 3 wallpapers. The main one is from the Gournay. It's a hand painted. We use it in the vanity area and in the shower. And yes, the shower is fully functional with wallpaper. We put glass in front of it.
Cool.
And there's a second one. That's the main character of the soap opera. The second one is Philip Jeffries, and they made it custom for me. It's actually a grass cloth. It was custom made. We started with the color that we put on the base, where it's a beautiful indigo blue, and it diffuses beautifully into a lighter blue. And the third one, it's on the ceiling. We did a metallic raffia, and it picks up all the finish that we have on the plumbing fixtures, on the lights, and it just plays beautifully.
I love that. You really went for it. Okay.
I love that space.
I love it. Okay, Jim, I'm going to throw that question to you then. One rule you'd love to see rewritten and one design rule you live by?
Well, one rule I live by is the use of color. I primarily am a kitchen designer, and I run from all white kitchens. I like white, and white belongs in our spaces, but I really love sticking with colors in my spaces. In every other space in our living worlds, we have color. So why not bring color into our kitchens where we live a lot?
And more now than before, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jim.
The rewritten, I think, is backsplashes. And I think because I'm here representing de Gournay, behind me is a wallpaper backsplash. And what I love about of using wallpaper as backsplashes is it's no longer background, but it really becomes a beautiful centerpiece and an art piece in the room. And again, covering with glass, we use a museum glass that's been tempered so it can take the heat and take the spaghetti sauce.
All of the above. All of the above. Things that really happen in a kitchen. Awesome. Seth, what are your rules and what do you want rewritten?
Oh, so many rules. One that I think about, in design school, we often learn about the golden mean or the golden rule, which is that, golden proportion that exists when you're creating, a space or a product design or a piece of furniture. And, I think, we're living in dynamic times, and I think that's getting reflected in spaces, as Alexandra's space, as she exhibits, at the show house today. And then also like in furniture and accessories and how things are being designed in a more dynamic sense or fashion. Like you're seeing a lot of things happening in terms of scale and proportion and them getting dramatized. And I think that's a direct result of what's happening in the world. But I think this idea of golden mean is fading away. And I love this idea about dramatized proportions, like really chunky, table legs with super ultra thin tabletops and things like that I think are happening. And so that's one rule I would do away with.
And one that you love?
Yeah, and one that I'm absolutely loving, yes, and seeing what's happening right now in the world, and in design in particular. And then I think the other, which is a rule of thumb for design in general, and I think that's really about the heart connection to a space or to an item or to an environment, and that's number one for me. It's really about keeping that heart connection and designing within a space with things, items, places, colors that really resonate with your heart and really make you feel like you're part of the space. I'm like this item or this, like, I feel like I'm on that Saturday Night Live skit with Scarlett Johansson. Like in my space, for example, there's like, there's items everywhere. Like that bust is from, Paris flea market. That dog, was picked up at a mom and pop shop in the West Village, for my husband for his birthday. It's like all of these things really matter in a space.
Well, and I love the story behind all those things. It's what makes home, right?
Agreed.
Yeah. Jim, okay, so we're talking about design rules. Have you ever taken a risk with a rewritten design rule? And was it a success or a rule best left in the original playbook?
Well, again, I have to go to the wallpaper, right? That is a unwritten rule that we are using now. And I just used it successfully in my first kitchen with the tempered glass. And it was a smashing success.
Without being smashed.
Without being smashed.
Don't smash it.
Never gotten there yet. The black iron skillet. Whoops. Jim, you need more glass.
I love that though, because it's such a luxurious wallpaper, and to think of it only being in spaces like great rooms, and now being able to realize that you can have it in your shower or in your kitchen just gives it another life. So I love that. Okay.
How I used it is I wrapped it was on the backsplash, but then it wrapped around and reappeared again beyond the cabinets in the dining area. So it was in an open floor plan space. So it really pulled all the spaces together. It's dramatic.
Well, we love dramatic, and Seth has already said that he loves drama. So speaking of that, with so many trends and endless design choices, Seth, how do you help clients define their personal style to create spaces they'll love for years to come? Because there are trends and then there is personal style. So how do you manage that?
Absolutely. I think Alexandra's space is a great representation of that. I think it's understanding first and foremost who the client is and getting a feel for what are the things that they really love. Are there certain metal finishes or materials? Is there a color that they're really, that really speaks to them and is important to them? And I often talk about like the 2 out of 3 rule, in terms of 2 things recognizable, 1 thing not. So in the case of Alexandra's space, for example, it's like everybody's seen, wallpaper. Those of us who know Dugournay are obsessed with it, and obsessed with the hand-done nature and the craftsmanship that goes into this piece. But the unexpected, obviously, is that the shower space, the wet space, was a Dugournay wallpaper, which is considered really precious, covered with ultra clear glass, right? So it's this idea of 2 things expected, 1 thing not. I think it's also about how customization can then lead to a very personalized space. Like, one of the things that Alexandra did in the space was she used, part of Kohler's mix and match program. So she used, stone cut artifacts handles with a component spout. So it's taking these ideas, and it was genius. Like, it turned out really gorgeous. I love that mix, by the way, Alexandra. But it's about taking existing items and mixing them together to create something new. So I think that's part of it too.
Well, and Alexandra, since you are the lady of the hour that Seth just mentioned like 5 times in a row, how do you design or define your design style, and has it evolved over your career?
Oh, it definitely has evolved. I've been fortunate enough to have some clients that have commissioned me to do some incredible spaces and incredible homes, and it helps me think outside the box. It pushes me as a designer to come up with new ideas and new designs. I'm definitely a maximalist. There's no secret there. You can see it in my portfolio. You can see it on Kips Bay. I love layered spaces. I love texture. I love color. I adore color. I love pattern, and I love mixing up different styles. So yes, I think those kind of spaces have a personality, and it reflects my client's personality every time I do one of those.
And I have to ask, have you always been that way? Have you always been a maximalist?
I've always been a maximalist. It's just gotten worse over the years.
Better. It's only gotten better over the years. Okay.
Better.
I like that. Better.
So, okay, incorporating a bold color or mixing finishes can be intimidating for a lot of people. Seth, what advice do you have for people wanting to incorporate these trends into their own homes?
Very good question, and I love that you use the word bold. because as most people know, Kohler, at Kohler, we know and live by the word bold. So, whether that means, whether that speaks to design and innovation and things that we're doing new completely from a design innovation perspective, or whether it's from color, material, finish. I think being bold about color can be intimidating. I think it can be tough for some customers. You could gauge your level of boldness by or thinking about a relationship. Like you could dip your toe in a tiled backsplash in a fun color. And then maybe once you feel more comfortable in that relationship, you could dive into, like a cast iron sink in a bold color, like an Iron Ridge or something like that. So I think, it's a matter of getting used to whether bold feels right for you or not, and how committed you want to be.
Yeah, it really is like a relationship then. Am I just like playing, or am I serious about this? No, but I love that because it gives people kind of a way in, and it is kind of, there are moments that you can just kind of step into gently and see how you feel once you've lived with it for a while, which is really nice. Okay, so matching. Do we still do this? Okay, matching. Whether whether it's accessories or colors, is it a rule, Jim, to keep or to toss?
I have to go back to Seth because I had it written down to go bold or go home.
Yes.
So I would definitely always go bold. And I think matching, maybe 2 pillows in the room can match, or, flatware can match. But I think as far as furniture and design and items in the room, no matching.
Yeah. No matching.
No matching.
Yeah.
Symmetry, yes.
We should all have t-shirts.
Symmetry, yes.
Symmetry, yes, but no matching. And I you know what? And I love that you said that, because even extending to the outdoors, I'm like, no more sets. Go
no more sets. Oh, that's a good one.
Mix it up the way you mix up the interior of your house. Okay. Alexandra, what has been the most notable use of color, material, or finishes within the Kips Bay Palm Beach show home that you've seen?
I have to say, I walked through, first of all the spaces are absolutely gorgeous, but I noticed that wall coverings are making a huge comeback, and I'm super happy. And it's not just on walls, we're seeing it on ceilings. We're seeing, lush textures throughout the house. And
in showers.
And I think it's just, I think it's a great way to, bring texture and personality and pattern into a space, for sure.
I love hearing that. I love wallpaper. This room I'm in is going to be wallpapered. I think it's fantastic to think of just all these different applications in such a fun and dynamic way to not just add color, but to also add pattern, which I think is so fun. And just still do what you said, be able to play with where things are, whether it's on the ceiling, whether it's in that bathroom again, like wherever the spaces are, that you really have so much flexibility. So Jem, I'm going to ask you maybe the hardest question, sort of similar to Alexandra's, but I want to know your take on what are some of the colors, materials, and finishes taking center stage this year in 2021?
Luxury in materials, luxury in finishes, and luxurious colors. Alexandra's space, I walked in and was just blown away by the depth of the colors. And to me, using those beautiful colors and those beautiful materials, that the bathtub, that beautiful cobalt blue and that gorgeous finish, that is what design is. That's what design should be. And that's really, I think, what trend is going for, especially during this pandemic that everyone is spending too much time at home. It's really nice to live in spaces that feed your heart, that feeds your emotions when you're in those spaces. So I really think it is luxury finishes and luxury materials that are what makes us tick, and what happens and what is happening at the show house this year and in our own beautifully designed spaces.
If you do say so yourself, and I agree. I have to say, this has been a great discussion. We are almost out of time, but before we go, I'd love to ask each of you to share one thing that you'd like our audience to take away from today's discussion? I almost want to say you can't say wallpaper, but like you can. So Alexandra, let's start with you.
Okay, I think it's time to try something new, something bold. After, you know, the time that we've been going through, I think we need to see happy spaces. I always tell my clients, go through your closet, see what color is it that you gravitate to, and maybe that's the starting point to, if you never had color in your house, that's what's gonna give you that inspiration to do maybe a smaller space. Maybe you start with a powder room, but, you know, try something new, go bold, try to get color into your life.
That's right. Go on a date with your closet, as Seth would say. Jem.
How am I feeling about my closet? You know?
Jem, what about you? What's one thing you want the audience?
Not to be afraid of materials that you're not used to. You know, lacquer, woods that you haven't used in the past, metals that you haven't used in the past. Go bold or go home. I think that's really what this is all about. And I think that's what Kips Bay is about this year in Palm Beach. It's really, it's a wonderful expression of our past year. It's sort of an exuberance of, you know, coming out again into the world. I think it's an exciting time in design.
I love that. And also I think it's go bold, go home, because you guys are like either add color or get out.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Okay, Seth, what about you?
You know, I think, you know, design is evolving in so many ways, and I think today is so much about, you know, what I think we're all talking about, which is about personalization and figuring out a way to make your space and design feel and reflect you. And that can be done through customization, that can be done through finish mixing, that can be done through, you know, color, as we've talked a lot about today. You know, but I do think it's about that heart connection. And I think it's about creating spaces that feel like your own and make you feel that you're truly at home. And I think also just parting words, like Kohler and myself are really excited about being part of this show house this year. Like this area of the world is so dynamic, and there's so many incredible, you know, creative design things happening, and just really honored to be here today.
Oh, well, I certainly thank you all for being here today and for sharing your own feedback on what design rules are, which ones to throw away, which ones to keep. And I want to thank our audience for tuning in as well. Be sure to check out Alexandra's room, as well as all the other fantastic spaces at this year's Palm Beach Show House. All so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.